Today's webinar is on IEC 61508 SIL Certification Expectations. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today is the second session, and I see we have a very good attendance, so thank you very much for taking your time with us today. My name is Ted Stewart. I'm a CFSC. I'm the Program Development and Compliance Manager here at exida. I wear a lot of different hats. As you can see, I am one of the OEM account holders. I'm related and work with project management. I'm also the Deputy Quality Manager. I help the end user business, and I also help run the CFSC program. My areas of expertise, actually I came out of a manufacturing background. I started my career with Lockheed Martin in missiles and fire control, and then moved over to Harris Corporation, working with basically government contracting and satellites and things of that nature. As we get going through this webinar, if you have any questions, there's a toolbar there on your screen. Please go ahead and type those questions. If I can answer them as I talk through the webinar, I will. If I cannot, I will answer them at the end. And of course, if there are some questions that may or may not be related to this webinar and you still want to ask them, I can take those questions offline and make sure we get to those after the webinar. Okay? Thank you so much. Some background information for some of our newer guests here, as we always do. We are a worldwide company. You see here, exida is located all over the world. There's a little red dot probably pretty close to where you live, so we have people very close by. One of our newer areas is exida Japan. They're growing extremely well. We're very happy with what we see there. And yeah, so if you have any questions with our locations, we do have one most likely near you. Now, exida is involved with the complete supply chain of functional safety in multiple industry sectors, anywhere from the original equipment manufacturers who actually require product certification through to the end users that use the products. exida provides software tools, training, consulting, and procedures related to functional safety, security, and also reliability, and you can see there in front of you. Here are some of the engineering tools. The best part that I like about our tools is that it removes that error factor. It removes the fact that now we don't have to worry about manual calculations unless you're old school, but we do have software that will help do the calculations for us. And anything that we know how to do, we like to try and make public so that we don't have to share any secrets. It's all out there. It's all available to you as well. We just do it every single day. We have alarm management tools. We have FACS, SIL selection tools, SRS, SIL verification, as you can see in front of you. Basically, our main tool there is Excellencia. We have SIL Stat. A lot of tools that the end users love to use. Reference material. This is kind of a win-win for everybody. Win-win when I say, because when we do projects and we do certifications, you're not allowed to consult, right? Because then all of a sudden you're helping someone achieve certification, and that's a big no-no in the accreditation world. Plus, you want to stay unbiased, you want to stay as a third party so that there's no, we'll call it picking favorites. So what do we do here at exida is we publish everything. Anything that would actually help us do our job, anything that we know, we will publish in a white paper, a blog, a webinar like today, in all of our books as you see there. We pretty much have authored the books out on functional safety and many other areas that we're starting to touch, cybersecurity, alarm management. And why do we do this? Because if we can have something public, you can now point to a public document, and you don't have to consult, and you don't have to break that impartiality that we have with our accreditation. So, for example, the functional safety book that you see there in front of you on one of the front images. For example, if I say, hey, you know, you guys are going to need a product safety manual. I do know that in that book on page X, you can get to a template of a safety manual. Now you know what to do. Okay, and so that's what we do. We like to make things easier, and that's why we publish as much as we can. We do have a suite of services and products. You'll see here the consulting that we can do is with the end users. It's in IEC 61511. We have, as you see here, 62061, ISO 26262, alarm management, and cybersecurity. We did talk about tools. Today's webinar is going to be on product certification. We touched briefly about trainings. Basically, we have a training somewhere in the world at least once a week. So we're very proud of that, because that's just part of our job. Is we want to make sure not only do we help people with product certification, but we explain why we do what we do. Reference materials, we touched on that. And then, of course, we have the professional certifications for people as far as CFSE, CFSP, and then also now in cybersecurity, which is CACE and CACS. We do have some exciting news that's going to happen within the CFSE program as a whole. However, we'll have to wait, I believe, another month or two before we can release it. But we may have some new specialties for people in some other areas of functional safety. All right, today we're going to be speaking about a few different topics. As you can see, closer to the end is when I talk about the proposal and your expectations, but I kind of want to share with you the process and how we get from A to B, from, hey, I'd like product certification, to, okay, here's my proposal. Now, how did you come up with this number? And kind of teach you a little bit about IEC 61508 and the amount of time that I have. Okay, so first, let's start off with the introduction to 61508. Just a real quick top level. Now, the functional safety goal, okay, when you want to get product certification, there's a goal in mind with functional safety, and that goal in mind is that the automatic safety function will perform the intended function correctly, or the system will fail in a predictable manner, okay? And when I say predictable manner, it has to be a safe manner, right? You don't want to fail in a predictable, dangerous manner, right? Because then people are going to get hurt. So when something fails, and everything does fail, how is it going to fail? In a safe way, an unsafe way? Are you going to be able to figure out that something did fail, or is it going to be an undetected failure? Now, the two keywords that you see here for reliability engineering is you want to perform the intended function correctly, and then when it fails in a particular manner, that's when you get to safety engineering. So IEC 61508, it's a standard, it's an umbrella standard. IEC 61508 is a huge document that we all have to go through. Well, everyone here at Exida, we have to learn to love this standard. But however, the standard does get broken up into other standards to help meet different sectors. For example, the nuclear sector has their own standard, as you see, the international standard. Machinery safety has one, and of course, our end users have their own as well. So, what is certification? I see that there are some new people on here, and a lot of people will email us. I say 5-10 customers a week will come to us saying, hey, I heard about this SIL thing. What is it? What do I expect? How much time does it take? And these are very good questions. And I see a few questions already trickling in, which I'll probably get to at the end, but I'll try and squeeze them in as I go. But really, what can you certify? Well, you can certify systems. You can certify products, components. You can even certify people. You'll see here the certification is a third-party assessment. It's done against a set of requirements based primarily on international standards like IEC 61508. Now, functional safety certification involves two different things. It involves both your engineering process and then also the design margins that result in those random failure rates in all safety modes, not just one, but in all all failure modes. And then, as a growing need and a growing concern has happened, we've also been accredited to now do cybersecurity certification because we're finding that systems are being impacted, and there's a huge need there, and there's a huge risk that's starting to develop within cybersecurity. So, who does certification, right? So now I know what gets certified, but who actually does the certification? Well, certification programs have been established by private companies. Also have been done by governmental bodies all over the world, and all organizations who perform certifications, because you can choose from, I say, a handful of companies of certifying bodies, but make sure that these are accredited. For us here at Exida in the United States, the body to go through is ANSI, the American National Standards Institute. Throughout the world, there's other institutes that you can get your accreditation from. For example, one is DAX. There's, let's just say every country has their own agency to go through, okay? So when you think about it, when you're asking someone to get a product certified, wouldn't you like to know that the person that's getting you certified also has to be audited, right, to make sure that what they're telling you is actually the truth and it actually does meet the requirements? And that's why we stress the importance of accreditation, because we want to make sure that you know that we're accredited. We're going through the same rigor you are, just at a different level. So how does ANSI fit in with this global feel, right? So Exida is a fully accredited by ANSI, okay? That's the United States liaison. So we're certified for a certifying body for cybersecurity and functional safety. Now here's the next thing. So we're saying, okay, if you're going to accredit us, ANSI, who's accrediting you? Who's giving you the audits? And that's where the IIF comes in. A lot of acronyms, but I'll explain them all. The International Accreditation Forum, okay? So ANSI has to report to the International Accreditation Forum, and most of the countries around the world are signatories of the IAF for the multilateral recognition arrangement. This didn't happen overnight. However, what it allowed us to do is now, because we're accredited by ANSI, we now have the manufacturer now has a certificate that has a global acceptance. Okay, so when you say this is certified per ANSI requirements, that now gets related to say any country in the world now has a global acceptance due to the stages that the program has gone through. Now, when you have an accreditation and you're going to get your product certified, make sure whoever you choose, you see that logo on that certificate. If it's not on that certificate, more than likely they're not accredited. So I always say to each their own, because there's other organizations, certifying bodies out there that say, hey, I don't need to be accredited. Why do I need it? My business is already doing fine. In fact, we do have a very large competitor of ours who's been around for a long, long time, probably the longest, and they're not accredited. They have a household name. They say, hey, look, we're Company X. We're that certifying body. We've been around forever. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And that's fine. And we just don't want to go that route. We don't feel like we know everything, but what we do know is we're accredited. We know everything we need to know for this certification, and we're fully capable of doing it now. And every year when we get audited, we learn more and more stuff to help. Basically, for us, we always try and help the end users. Yes, we help the manufacturers get the certification, but the end goal is us and the manufacturers want to make sure the end user is happy. All right, so you learned a little bit about 61508. Let's move into the initial certification request. So what happens? Well, if you're a new customer and you're saying, hey, look, I heard about this SIL thing, or hey, I have this product, I'm trying to win a bid, you know, how do I achieve certification? Well, the first thing you do, obviously, is you send an inquiry in. You send it in. It filters through the people till it gets to the right person who can help you with the service, right? So it comes into exida, we'll say, and the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to fill out an application. It'll be a list of quick questions. You'll see an image in front of you. That's just a quick image of a few of the questions that's on there. Real basic stuff, but what it does is it defines the scope for us. Okay, and once the scope's defined, we also ask, hey, would you mind sending us a product brochure or an IOM, basically like an instruction manual, and any other useful documents to help us understand the scope. Why do we do this? Well, you're going to learn throughout the presentation why we ask these questions, because there's a few things we're trying to get to that can impact that proposal and impact how much time this job's going to take, so we can give you a timeline. So this stuff all gets filled out, and then as soon as that's done, a quotation number gets generated within exida, and then we create the proposal. We're pretty quick at what we do because we do it every day, a few times a day with these proposals. But the customer doesn't see the work behind the scenes, and they don't understand, well, how did you get to that number, right? Well, we also have an initial welcome call. We'll go over the proposal, answer all your questions for you. But they're saying, well, you know, well, what just took place? How did you say, okay, my job is worth X, when I asked for a different job and it was Y? How are these things different? And so today that's what we're going to talk about. First thing we're going to do is go over the different certification paths. What you see in front of you, besides that it's an eye chart, there's a lot going on there, is the process that exida goes through when we have to certify a product. And there's different routes and different things that you can do to quicken these steps, but you have to go through all these steps and you have to show how you met these requirements. So the first thing, I'll briefly explain it all, and then I'll go into more in depth. I'll break it out into 3 different sections. So the first is you're going to start your project, and in parallel you're going to do a gap analysis, right? And a gap analysis, what that is, it's basically going to share with you where do you stand right at the beginning of the project. How many action items do you have? What do you need to work on to achieve certification? And there'll be a list of action items, okay? Once you identify your action items, now we have something to work towards. Now we know what we need to get done. In the same time, we're also going to work on the other side on something called an FMEDA, a failure mode effect diagnostic analysis. And you will get these slides, so So you can take some notes, but I'd rather you more listen and answer and ask questions, because you will have these slides, so you don't have to write all this stuff down or try and draw these diagrams. So as the failure mode affected diagnostic analysis is being performed, that's what's going to help show where your failure rates are, what's safe, what's dangerous, what's detected, what's not detected. We'll complete the gap analysis. We'll go through the action items. Next, we'll create a safety case. There's a baseline, and then there's a final. The baseline is more so on your design, your development, all the generic documents, I like to say, that are more company-related. Not product-related, but more company-related. That's what goes into a baseline safety case. We do that also at the initial phase. All right, and then towards the end of the safety case, we get into the final safety case, which is more product specific. That's where you have your FSM plan. That's where you have your SRS, and like I said, I'll go into more details as we go through each one of these steps. And of course, once you finish that, your action items are resolved from the gap analysis. We completed the safety case, which has hundreds and hundreds of requirements for IEC 61508. We then say, yes, all the requirements were met. Let's issue the certificate, assessment report, certificate go out, and we give you a big, congratulations, your project's now done, go ahead, sell it, and then we do a bunch of different marketing things to help promote your product. Okay, so I did say that there is 3 different paths. Well, first off, there are 3 paths. Let's say if you're somebody that has to deal with software. Well, IEC 61508 in the 2010 version, Part 3, they do provide optional different ways. You have a Route 1S, a 2S, and a 3S. What these are, these demonstrates the different systematic capability ways that you can go about when you have a complex software-based system. Okay. Now, while the standard implies certification, and it can be given based entirely on the operational history, the exida scheme will actually give you partial credit against the software process requirements if the manufacturer can demonstrate significant, reliable, and safe operation in the field over a significant period of time, which is called prior use, proven in use. You'll hear these terms over and over again. But now here's what we did. So we know everything about IEC 61508. So what did the exida scheme do? Well, we developed a scheme that we've developed 3 different ways to get certified. One, you can have a design and test process fully compliant. You can have another one that's fully compliant with changes, and of course the third one is there's no changes allowed. And each path has different requirements going through. And also, for a proposal's sake, since we're talking about what you can expect on certificate expectation, is the proposal amounts change depending on what path you go because of the amount of work that's going to be involved. Okay, so let's go with option 1. The first option that we have is it's a new product. There's no field history. It's brand new out the box. You guys just developed it. It actually might still be in the development phase. All right. So what do you have to go through? You have 3 different things. You have the new design must have a full hardware analysis, failure analysis. Okay, and that's also called your random failure integrity. The new design must follow the design process requirements of IEC 61508 for the target SIL level. Now that we're talking about the SIL level, that's going to be your product systematic failure integrity. And of course, I spoke a little bit about a safety manual, but the safety manual must be created to explain how to use the product at the system level. That's also another systematic failure integrity. Okay, so when you're looking at the new design certification process, this is option 1 still. That diagram that we went through in more detail, we have to go through the entire thing. There's no shortcuts, there's no requirements that are already met. Why? Because it's a new product and there's nothing that we can use previously to help us achieve certification. Okay, so that once again, a new product is going to be a little more work, but that's okay, because sometimes time to market is the most important thing, whereas you don't want to wait 5 to 10 years, while you get this field history or shipping records so that you can get certification quicker, right? So sometimes you don't need to do that. So now the next step is option 2. Option 2 is the product is well documented with field history. It's been around for a while, okay? The design must have a full hardware analysis. The product field data collection process is audited. Okay, the quality data is available and is also analyzed to show the lack of design problems. All right. Now, the thing with this one is you're going to have to show proof, whether it's an impact analysis or whether you have some change orders. you want to show that here's where we are, here are the failures we had, here's how we corrected those failures. And you need to just show proof, and it doesn't have to be verbal, it needs to be written down and tracked. Okay, and then of course, the safety manual must be created to explain how to use the product at the system level. Now let's look and see how that flowchart works. As you can see here, the option 2, look at all the red marks there. So you can see if you have proven in use, you don't need to supply all these different types of documentation, right? You don't need the gap analysis report if it's proven in use, the FSM plan, tool justification, your software module test plan, or the integration test plan. A lot of these things don't need to be requirements, because while you now have proven data, you can share the shipping records, the failure information, and you can fully show us that, hey, look, because this product's been around for so long, I can show proof on a history, on the track record, that this product is good, there's barely any failures, and so forth, right? A lot of people like option 2. I think it's the most used option. And it's a little less work as well from option 1. Option 3 is the least amount of work. But a lot of people don't utilize option 3. Why? Because of, and you'll see here in number B when I get there, that so A is basically, you still must have that full hardware failure analysis, right? You can't get away from that. But here's where it's different with B is the design process must meet requirements for ECNs. You don't need to worry about that, because why? There's no changes allowed. Now, why would you want a certificate where you're not allowed to make a change? Well, let's say it's a legacy product. Let's say it's a product you don't sell very much of, but you need it for a huge order. You can go through certification a lot quicker if you're expecting no changes. Okay, so this is usually a strategic move. If people need certification and they want it quick, they want it less expensive, they'll go this route, but they can make changes, but there's a lot less work that we have to do to certify. And as you see here, look at all the red marks now of all the documents that we don't really need. Obviously, we still need the shipping records. That's key, and we need the failure record, which is also key. However, you can cancel out so many other areas. Okay. Now we're quickly moving here into the certification process. All right. So now I'm going to explain. So now that you've kind of seen the different options, I want to share with you what other certifying bodies, or we can just call them conventional certification processes, what you normally see. We get this question a lot, so I decided to spend a little bit of time to put it together. But there's differences with every certifying body, so you got to make sure you know what you're asking for. Look here. There's your certifying body with a conventional process, and here's the manufacturer, right? And I think I'm speaking to a lot of manufacturers today. So bear in mind, when you get a quotation and it's like you get a price X and then you get a price from us and it's Y, you're like, well, actually, why is it so much different in price? Well, here's one of the reasons usually. Usually it's an a la carte type certification, which we can provide as well. We just don't recommend it only because how much time it really takes that manufacturer to get certified. They just don't realize it, especially if they're a newer customer. The certifying body from a conventional certification process, you'll see here, you start your project and they do like a gap analysis in a sense, and they say, okay, manufacturer, will you please supply an FMEA, the safety case, which basically has all the different hundreds of different requirements. You need to show them how you meet those requirements to the standard. You need to create a FMEDA, which is the failure mode effect diagnostic analysis, which kind of shows, you know, where the failure rates lie. Are they safe? Are they dangerous? Are they detected? Are they undetected? You need to create, if your product has one, mostly for a type B product, a communication protocol analysis. And then once you finish everything, you give it to the conventional certification process body, and you say, okay, I'm finished. They'll look at it, they'll audit, they'll review it. If it's not right, they ask you to redo everything. Okay? And that's just one way to go. Right or wrong, that's just another way about going on doing business. Do you have people, maybe they don't have that much work to do at their current job, and you need to give them something to do? This is a great thing, because this takes a lot of time, especially if you don't do it every single day. And many people go this route. Why? I mainly say because they don't realize what they're getting themselves into, and when they come back around, they realize that the work that we do, it's the story just kind of writes itself, so to speak. So here's some quick quotes. I got 2 of them. I didn't want to bore you with too many quotes. However, we feel these 2 we got this year were pretty right on point with the things that we've talked about. This guy says, we estimated a functional safety project after getting a much better price, okay, from conventional German CB. The work from our engineers was estimated to be between 1,000 and 2,000 man-hours. After discussing the process with exida, we estimated 200 maximum hours. The overall cost using exida was much less. And like I said, we get this a lot. Why? Well, when you look at the process and you see there at that slide how much work the manufacturer has to do compared to how much work we have the manufacturer do, it's almost night and day. And I'll show you what manufacturers have to do when we do certification as well. Here's another one. I thought this was quite interesting. They said, we have been using exida, and our sister company was using, let's say, XYZ, a European conventional CB. I described our experience with exida and then asked the engineering manager in our sister company about their experience. He said it was much harder to get certification. I interpreted that to mean that XYZ is tougher technically, but I had to ask why. He reported that XYZ did not respond to their emails. They put us back in the queue every single time that one of their documents didn't pass. So when they had to go through that reiteration, they had to go through it again. However, they got put last, right? Because they didn't have that dedicated engineer to help them through the process. And it took months for them, even when they finished, to get the certificate once they had passed. We hear this story a lot. It was just nice to have somebody give us a quote so that we could put it down on paper. So now I want to show you. Okay, so now you know the conventional certification. Here's what the exida process is, right? So if you see here, here's your manufacturer, here's exida. As you can see, we do everything for you. The only thing that we don't do is we can't make documents for you, right? So we'll point you to what we need. We have the safety case. We'll give you the action items. You come back. You have a dedicated engineer for all of your work. So with any job, there's usually 4 or 5 engineers dedicated to your job. You have you have a project manager that you'll be your main point of contact. You'll have an evaluating assessor, a certifying assessor, and you also have 1 or 2 others depending on if you have a Type A or Type B product. Type B products, you need 2 different people to do the FMETAs. One's electrical, one's a mechanical. So there's a lot of work that goes in there, and because we do it every day, we can get through it obviously at a faster rate, okay? And like I said, the only thing that we ask of manufacturers is just apply the documents. If there's testing that needs to be done, you most likely did the testing already. Some products that are Type B need fault injection testing, so we'll generate a list and say, hey, will you test this? And you'll go through, you'll do it, and we'll keep moving on. All right, so let's go and let's talk about the different stages here. Like I said, I'm going to break it into 3 places so you can kind of understand the process a little bit more, and then we'll go and talk about the proposals and things of that nature. So the gap analysis, right? Here are just a few real quick areas that you're going to see on a gap analysis. You're going to want to know an FSM plan, right? The Functional Safety Management Plan. I spoke about this SRS. What that is, that's a safety requirement specification. Excuse me, most companies do have that. We'll look at the validation test plans, some tool justifications, obviously the safety manual, and of course, if possible, the shipping and return information, depending on what path you go down. And from this, what we will do is, we'll create those action items, see where you stand per the standard, and then we can work off those action items as we go through the project. What I like to do, and it can be done 2 different ways, is you can have an on-site audit at the beginning, or we can also have one at the end. I like doing it at the beginning personally. Why? Because I like seeing that the documents given are what's actually being done in the manufacturing floor. If manufacturing is done on the floor, it's perfect. We're able to go there. We're able to just verify everything. We can interview certain people, just making sure that what they're saying is what they're doing. And it's not that we're trying to find fault. Let's just make sure that this company is as safe as they think they are. Okay? And we don't shake fingers. We just really just bring awareness to what's going on inside. Once we do the manufacturing tour, we're also, if they require, we do it without any charges. We also do a training while we're there, The training is excellent. You can bring as many people as you want in this room. They can all sit in. They can listen. We'll do a quick overview of IEC 61508. Why we think this is important is because now you'll have an understanding as to why we're getting certification, why you are requesting this product certification. A lot of marketing people love this training because then they can understand it, they can go and sell it, and they can answer the questions. Okay. We'll also, at this time, we'll go through that gap analysis. If there's anything outstanding, it's incredible how much work you can get done when you're person to person. I guess it's kind of old-fashioned of me, but I believe, internet's great. However, it has its limitations. And I know that if someone walks in that door, even if you're reading an email, that person that walked in your door has priority. Whether or not it's just a story or a water cooler discussion, they get priority. All right, and that's just the human nature. So when we have an on-site audit, we don't like to impact people's schedules, but what we'll do is we'll ask for one key person. They'll stay with us, and then throughout that day on that on-site audit, we'll ask here and there for an hour or so from different people of those groups. We'll have them come in, answer the questions that they're the experts in, and then they can leave and go back, and they don't have to worry about it. And we'll go through, knock out all the action items for the gap analysis, and basically start that baseline safety case, which is the second tier, and get the job done at a much rapid pace. Okay, so now let's move down into the second stage here. You'll see all the different things that we're going to talk about here is the baseline safety case, the final safety case. How do we generate this thing called a safety case? All right, all the different documents required are basically your IEC 61508 documents needed to fulfill the standard. All right, and because we have all those publications, we can simply just point to a book even and say, hey, look on this page, why don't you go check this out? This is what you're looking for. This is what you'll probably need to do. While we're creating this baseline safety case, that's one dedicated engineer. We'll have another dedicated engineer, excuse me, working on the other side, working on your failure rates, so that by the time we're finished with the final safety case, your FMETA is already complete. So then we'll know exactly where you stand as far as what SIL capability you're able to achieve. During this stage, also, you'll notice there's many different reports we'll create for you. Some are optional. Some are mandatory. The one mandatory one you see there is the FMEDA. We will get that to you. That report is something that you'll want to hold on to as a manufacturer. And I see a question coming in here that I can answer just in one moment here. However, that FMEDA report is not public. We do have some reports that will be public, and when I get to that, I'll explain why an FMEDA report is not on our public site. So talking real quickly about the safety case and the FMEDA, well, what we do at exida is we do a complete assessment. We want to make sure we cross our T, dot our I's. We use the safety case as the approach to that assessment to ensure that a complete evaluation of all requirements are met in any scheme. We do create an assessment report, as you see there on the screen, that's published free of charge, available to everybody. And I'll speak where these sites or these reports go and how they actually generate manufacturers even business, which is another benefit of what exida has to offer. Okay, so we talked about the safety case. Now let's go and switch modes into failure rates. And I'm just touching these areas. We have other webinars if you need to learn about a specific subject that we've already done that goes into more detail. But for today's discussion, it's more so just learning what to expect when you want to achieve certification. Now you have different ways to get field return information. The first one is manufacturer field return data studies. Right? There's pros and cons. One of the pros is that it's real data. This is stuff that actually happened. It's not predicted. It's not estimated. This is actual data. The minus side, well, the calculation methods vary widely. You cannot know what % of the actual failures are returned. You could have a product that I call it a throwaway. It doesn't cost too much to that person, and if it fails, they throw it away and they ask the manufacturer for a new one. They just install it real quick. Right? There's no impact. However, some products are expensive, and you have a better rate of what your failures are. You'll have a better understanding because they'll be asking for the warranty. They'll be asking to have things replaced, and so forth. Now, exida always reviews the manufacturer field return data. It's part of our assessment. It's part of our scheme, but that data does not determine the published failure rates. Okay. The data is used to identify possible systematic faults and to verify that the failure rate predictions are done by exida. It's very, we actually enjoy looking at companies' failures. Why? Because it's fun to see if we can see any common failures, or if there's any outliers. Because some outliers you can throw out because maybe it wasn't the manufacturer's fault. Some reoccurring ones we want to look at and say, okay, look, so you're seeing this failure a lot. What are you doing about it? Show us an impact analysis. How are you going about correcting it so that this does not happen again? And it only makes that company safer. Now we have predicting failure rates. Okay, so you had actual failure rates with pros and cons, right? The biggest con is that you don't know really all the failures. Now, when you predict failure rates, exida, we developed what we've talked about, the FMEDA. It's a technique that predicts failure rates and failure modes on a product. Okay, this is one of the most used methods, and it's widely accepted. Now, how did we get to the stage? We didn't do this overnight either. exida, we have the world's best set of field failure data with over 250 billion unit operating hours from the process industries, with which it has created a caliber component failure database to use in the FMEDA analysis. Okay, and we also take this database and we compare it to other well-known organizations like ORITA and HEMA. And we compare, we see where do we stand, and we have a whole presentation on how well our predicted failure rates are doing. exida also validates the FMEDA results by frequent comparisons with the end user field failure data. So what do? We actually will take that field failure data that we're seeing from end users, and then we'll take the FMEDAs that we've created, the predicting failure rates, and we'll match them. We'll say, okay, how well are we doing with this ball valve? How well are we doing with this actuator? And we can actually see what the actual failure rates are compared to what we predict. And we are very, very, very close, and it's very exciting that this tool has become what it is today. Okay, so I've talked about this word FMEDA a lot. What exactly is an FMEDA? Well, a great way to explain it is that every failure mode of every component is examined. And I want to pause there because that's exactly what we do. It's very cumbersome. It's very tedious. It takes a lot of time to do an FMEDA. But that's what we get. That's why people pay us, is because we don't mind doing it. We're those people that don't mind sitting here and crunching numbers for hours at a time. So we'll take that product, right? And we don't need your product physically. We just need, let's say, a bill of material, a schematic, maybe the wiring diagram, and we'll look at this product, break it all the way down to its nut and bolt, and we'll figure out how many ways this washer can fail. What could happen if this happens? So we'll have all these scenarios. Because we've done it for so long, we have them all listed, and we go through each list, each component, and then we come up with this. Then at the very end, after you put it all together, that's how you get all your different failure rates. And you add them all up. You can see what's your fail-safe, fail dangerous, dangerous detected, dangerous undetected. And this method is very systematic. It identifies all your real problems, but requires, like I said, many engineering hours. Okay, so now you understand the FMEDA at a top-level approach. Now you have this failure rate data. There's differences from what exida does to the other conventional certification bodies. exida, and I can't give us all the credit, but because of our advisory board that consists of all end users, they tell us what they want to see. They tell us what they need to see when they buy a SIL certified product. They don't want to just see that PFD number, which has no false trip data in it, as you see in the bottom right-hand corner. Actually, you can see that quote there. It says, false trip rate is an essential design parameter for our SIS designs. How can I do this without the data? Right? Only exida certifications provide that. And that's one of the bonuses, is that we do things with the end user in mind. You'll see in the left table there, either table you want to look at, we identify in different services, safe, the Lambda SD, the Lambda SU, the Lambda DD, the Lambda DU. What is that? Safe detected, safe undetected, dangerous detected, and dangerous undetected. Okay? And now you can see how this product will fail, and those are in fits. Okay? And you'll see here different applications of each product. So we don't just say for one product, we actually will split out the application so you can see it in different ways on how this product can fail. So Now that we've talked about the certification process, we talked about how the FMEA report is generated, the baseline safety case, the final safety case, all of this stuff is now done. Hey, now we're getting ourselves to what? The certification. Finally, the end. All the requirements are met. You're going to get issued certificate. You get the assessment report, and boom, there it is. Okay? Congratulations. We made it through the certification process. You see it here on the right-hand side. That is the assessment report of the cover page, and on the left-hand side is the certificate. One thing to note is you'll see at the very bottom, left-hand side, the ANSI accreditation logo showing that we are accredited. You'll see our serial number down there. And that's something for you to keep an eye out depending on what certifying agency you go with, body you go with. Now, these things are published. The assessment report is your top level report. It'll go through and discuss how you achieve SIL certification, your capability rating. The FMEA report, which is not public, and the reason why the FMEA report is not public is it's absolutely required to the end user. If the end user wants to buy that manufacturer's product, say they want to buy this product here on the screen, the Rosemount 3051, okay? They want to buy this. That FMEA is not out on the general public. Why? Because we believe there's information in that FMEA report that competitors could use to their benefit. All right, we don't want that. We would rather the manufacturer control who sees that report, and that's why we don't make that public. But the assessment report is something that we can put out there to help explain that certificate. Now, here's another great thing, is the fact that once we do the certification, it doesn't stop there. We actually continue working for our customers, our clients. We developed this safety automation equipment list. We developed it solely for exida at first. We wanted to make sure we knew what products we certified when we were small, and we wanted to know when they were up for the next audit, all right? Because every 3 years you have to get your product certified or recertified, which is a much simpler phase than actually certifying it. But what we noticed is many end users were giving us a call and saying, hey, look, would you mind sharing this information? We'd like to know because we need to kind of go shopping. We need to build this system. We want to know what's already certified. And then all of a sudden this equipment list blew up, and it has become this huge website where thousands of people now visit. And what we've done is now everybody that certifies their product with us, we put it on there for free. We don't charge them. There are some people that want to be on here because of the demand so high now that we have to charge them if they don't use us, which is only fair. And you'll see here www.saelonline.com is how you get to that site. Email me. I can get you a personal link if you like it. However, now you can go here, and the benefits is an end user can go here. They can build a system if they want a solenoid, if they want an actuator, if they want anything. They can see what's certified. They click on it. They can see the report. They can see the certificate. They'll also, assuming the manufacturer gives us the ability, which sometimes I don't know why they wouldn't, but there are special cases. It also has a link to their site, to the person that they can call and contact to buy this product, and it's very valuable. We get a lot of cool remarks and stories and a lot of thanks from this list. If you want to know what this list is entailed, you can see here. Here's just a quick example. It turned into an eyesore, but I can only get one page of the pages that we have on there. But this is just a list of the ball valves that we've certified. We've certified over 90% of all the ball valves in the process industry. Gas detectors, we've also certified many of these. You'll see, and you can see we have a few of our competitors on there. Why? Because these companies understand the value of being on this list. They just don't realize that if they would have done it through us, it would have been free. We also have logic solvers. It's nice to see how many we've already done since we got into this a little late. I mean, X has only been around for 17 years, whereas our competitors have been around for closer to 100 years. And we're making traction. We're doing very good. In fact, just last year we did a third-party survey because we wanted to find out one of our founders, Dr. William Goebel, was very curious to see how well the company was doing. So he asked a third party to go out and go look, okay, how well is everyone doing in the industry? And these were the results. It was great to see that we are #1 in market share and mind share. And also in 2016, we've actually are going to be doing even better. So that's very exciting that the company's continuing to grow, and we've only been around for 17 short years. This one is a little surprising to me. I didn't realize, as you see in the previous slide, the major competitors are, as you see, the different divisions of TUV. Those are some of our bigger competitors. And if you add all of them together, all three of them, even still, we in the safety device certifications are still number one. We actually had done more certifications than all three combined, which is kind of neat to see. It was definitely nothing that we thought we were going to see. And then even in the logic solver division, which, like I said, we got into this late, we still have 44% of the in total revenues. And what's nice about that is if you split them up, each TUV individually, we're the most out of any single TUV organization. And like I said, I only mentioned TUV only because they're the next ones in line. They're doing fairly well as well. Experience, I don't think we need to say much. Only that we've been helping a lot of people lately. And now into the proposal, okay? And I got 5 or 6 questions here that I need to get to. So let me go through this proposal part. But okay, so now look, we saw this slide already. We were like, hey, what does it take to achieve this proposal, right? So what are my expectations? Well, now you kind of see what happens in the background. All the different processes that we'll have to go through, all the extra work that we put on ourselves, which is fine. It's what we do. I mean, we do it every day, so it's okay. So now, when we say, okay, here's the queue number, here's the proposal, we got the application, and here's your number. Now you can kind of understand why the number is the way it is, and why, if you quote up to somebody else, why you get a different number. All right. One thing we didn't touch on, and this is something you don't have to need to know. This is something we will let you know if you don't figure it out yourself. Are you a Type A product or are you a Type B product? A Type A product, I like to say, there's those simple mechanical products, okay? They're solenoids, they're pressure switches, they're basically simple devices that meet IEC 61508. We call these Type A devices. Now, what are Type B? It's everything else, okay? It's elements with a microprocessor or a complex ASIC. Now, these are always Type B. I just call these are smart devices. These are things that have memory and boards and software. Okay, so those are the different types. Now, you can have electrical in a Type A. That's completely okay. But when we see your application, when we see this diagram, we can let you know which one you are. And why do I say that? Because when we actually look at the different types of products, the cost is significantly different. All right. Yeah, there's a range there for a Type A product. You're going to look between $15,000 and $45,000. Not a whole lot of money. Not knowing what process goes in place, what I like to do is calculate how many hours you think it's going to take you to do, and then divide that by whatever your work hour. If it's $180 an hour, if it's $200-something an hour, whatever your engineering time is, and see, well, is it worth for us to go through this process ourselves to a certain extent? Now, Type B is I call it a different beast. It's a different animal. It can be so complex, or it doesn't have to be that complex at all. And the difference in range is basically, there's a larger range dependent upon the complexity of that product. We need to know what path are we going. Is it a new product? Is it a product that we can do proven in use? Is it something that you don't want changes for? These all impact this type of proposal. And another thing, and I got a question here, it's perfect timing. People say, well, look, I've gotten certification in the past with you, how much does it cost if I go through it again? Well, it's going to be less. And if you want to know how much less, if you go through the process with us one time, right, you get through it, you pass, pat on the back, excellent job. You say, hey, you know what, that wasn't so bad, I have another product. What do I have to look at? Well, let's just say for time's sake, off the hip, let's say you're going to have a 30% reduction off of another product if you want to get certified. Why? Because that baseline safety case that I talked about, that's the company, right? The company procedures, we can reuse all that information. Okay. Another thing is we already know your site. We've been to your site. As long as we've been to your site within the last year or two, we can even skip the surveillance audit. Excuse me, the on-site audit. All right, and that's also right there a huge savings. So there's a lot of things that we can do once we get through the initial process that I like to encourage people. Okay. That was a very good question. Thanks for asking that. And this does kind of conclude everything I wanted to talk about today. So I hope you have a better understanding with what was involved, how do we get from A to B, what do I expect when I hear this SIL thing, what's included in here, and of course we can have this thing recorded so that you can watch it over and over again to make sure you understand everything. Now, I have questions here. Let me go ahead and answer some of the questions. One we didn't answer, they wanted to know why the FMETA was not publicly. Okay, and that's due to the confidentiality of the client. We wanted to make sure that the client sends it out to the appropriate people. You do need to supply that to a customer if they're going to purchase your product so that they understand it. Good question. All right. Another question here is if a particular model of transmitter is similar to another one, do I have to get a certification for each one? Good question. There's different routes that people have gone. The one that's most common is if you have a family. Okay, say one, you have the same product, maybe the material might change, or maybe the pressure in product A compared to product B is slightly different. What we can do is something called worst case. We'll go ahead and look at all of your products that you want to certify, so the entire family. We'll do a FMETA, more work for us, but that's okay. We'll do a FMETA on every single one of them, and we'll pick the worst case one. And when we pick worst case, what we can do now is, as long as it still meets the requirements that you're trying to achieve on the SIL capability, which it should because they're all similar, you can now just use one number or a table of numbers to now say, okay, these products in this one certification are all certified. And that's a huge cost savings for a lot of people, and it's a great route to go if you have that ability. So good question. I see a question here. Actually, I was meaning to send this. I do have a slide here because I had a question before I started. They were asking when the next training course was in 61508 because they don't have a product yet to certify. So here it is in front of you. We're actually going to hold it at our new corporate office, which is pretty exciting. We've quadrupled in size of the last year, and so we now have a new building. And this is kind of quickly explaining what is going to be entailed. If you want more information, you can email me. However, I'm just going to forward it to what you see on the below, academy@exida.com. These are the people that you want to talk to. They're the gurus in training. They know all the questions, all the prices, all the different times. So go ahead and talk to them. But let me answer some of these other questions real quick so I don't take any more of anyone else's time. Let's see. The last accreditation from exida for our product was completed in 2007. Is our certificate still valid? Short answer, no. If you haven't recertified that product, those products until your next surveillance audit date, and it's on your certificate, is 3 years. So in 2010, you would have had to renew. However, what I do want to tell you is the people that bought that product within 2007 to most likely 2010, I don't have the certificate in front of me, in that series of those years, those products are considered certified products. If they buy that product after that certificate has expired, those are not SIL certified products. You can verbally tell them that nothing has changed, but because we don't know if your process changed or if what modifications have taken place since then, there's no guarantee that that product still meets the IEC 61508 requirements. And that's one of the biggest things that ANSYS has us do is we have to verify that what you're doing today is what you were doing when we first assessed you. Okay, good question though. And I can, if you want to send me a quick email, I can help you through that to catch you back up and to make sure that your product is still good. That's no problem at all. All right, if my company can't allocate enough time to get SIL certification, will exida do the major part of the work even if the cost is higher? Yeah, that's one of the things that we actually value ourselves with is a lot of companies nowadays, I mean, because business is getting, it was slow in oil and gas, but now that it's ramping back up, they don't have a lot of time on their hands to do this work. And plus, if you don't see it every day, it's so mundane and it's it's not, I don't know, technically fun. Maybe for us because that's why we like doing it. We like the end result. However, yeah, we're going to be a little more money, but as you can see from what we do with the competitors do, it's fully justified. And in fact, the amount of time that you're going to save on your own, instead of getting a certificate that takes a year, with us, it'll probably take 3 or 4 months, right? And so the timing is quite quick. and we're able to, we're able to dedicate whatever we need to help get that job complete. So thank you for that. That was a good answer, a good question. All right, so I have another question here. You want to know about online analyzers. If you don't mind, send me a quick, if you have a product brochure, and I just want to make sure that online analyzer has that safety function, and it is something that we can certify. That should be a real quick answer for you. I'll take that one offline. But yeah, just send me a quick email. Send me, if you want, I can even send an application so you can give me some more information. However, I don't think we need to go that extent. Go ahead and just send me a product brochure. I'll take a quick look at it, and I'll reply back to you. If you send it today, I can look back and get you an answer tomorrow on that one. Yeah, no problem at all. Glad I could help. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you so much for your time. I try and keep it within the hour, and I did today, so I'm happy about that. Thank you. If you have more questions, by all means, let me go back to my screen here. There's my email address. You'll get these slides. This will be recorded. It'll be on our YouTube channel for you. If you need anything else, please feel free. I love doing this stuff, so I'm here to help. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Take care for now, everybody.